Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Way Up Trading. Today we're going to be going over GME, Gamestop stock. Going to be taking a look at this in a couple different ways for the short term, for the long term, near term, seeing what things are looking like while things are heating up on the market after the election situation that happened this week. However, it was destined to happen on this damn stock, I'll tell you right now. We're looking like some things are going to be looking really nice over the next couple of weeks. Get an idea of what the targets are looking like, what we can see longer term, and the potential to head back to new all-time highs and even higher than that over the next little bit. So we're going to go over that in detail. We're going to do all of that and more right after this.
Where are you going?
To the spaceship.
Spaceship?
To the spaceship to the moon. Quiet.
Oh my God.
All right, we're going to pull up the chart here and see how things are looking going forward on the chart. This is first and foremost, you guys have probably already seen this a million times. This is the setup here we have for GME on a long-term basis. Going over, if you haven't seen the last video I put out on this particular stock, going over in detail, about 45 minute long video, going over what I expect to see, which is not really deviated at all from the path. Just a quick retouch on this thing. Check that video out if you want more in-depth information. We're going to mostly be talking about what we can expect over the next couple of days, weeks or so on this particular setup here. But on Friday, fantastic setup, fantastic close. All levels that we need to see were hit. I mean, this thing looks like it's really ready to go. But let's take a look here at a couple different spots. First and foremost, we're going to start off with the trend lines here on the macro chart on the daily. As you all know, we've basically been in this setup here for a large sort of a rising wedge situation here. Overall, you have your top trend lines, the speed lines. You can call these the bottom support lines. And I mean, GME looks fantastic, ready to start to break out some major levels here. We're gonna look at some near-term stuff just to get an idea. But again, you want to have an idea what the playing field before you actually start looking at what potential possibilities are, which in GME's case looks wild in the future. We don't know how things are going to play out. We're taking it level by level and just use the TA to kind of guide our decisions here. But first and foremost, again, get an idea of the playing field. You have some possible speed lines that have not been touched here from the initial setup here with GME start. Gonna have to add those as macro trend possibilities and possibility to get up towards some crazy numbers. We've mentioned this in the last video. Not saying this is going to happen. Again, use what we have in front of us to really make the decisions. But I do have to count it because it was an area that we touched on on two different occasions. I consider them to be a solid connect or a solid touch if you have at least 3 touches on this particular point. But in this situation, we only have 1 or 2. 1, 2 here. I need the third one for confirmation for it to be considered a location that I'd pay attention to. But I leave it there just for conversation's sake and because it did have a significant touch at one point in time. All right, but other than that here, GME in this case, again, is in this particular pattern. Large move upwards, a rising wedge sort of situation, which looks like it may be trying to shrink these iterations a couple different times. Possibility we will see another setup like this in the near future over time, but I have more details on that when we get further into this video. As you can see, there's a possibility to get up here with even possibilities in a smaller range before coming down and breaking down completely. If that happens in the future, doesn't look like it's any near-term future. This thing goes all the way about to 2032 before things start to turn around. It can go the other way too. We don't know. So again, level by level, one thing at a time. All right, now in the near term, you have this set up here on the daily chart. This is the 23-hour, which includes the after hours moves. You can see that there was a couple spikes, obviously, outside of this large wedge that we had played off of the all-time highs and also the all-time lows to some degree. This is the trend line we've been paying closest attention to that we've just recently broken over the last little bit, over the last couple of days. And this right here looks fantastic. I mean, if you start paying attention to this stuff, you start to see that you have the accumulation that was happening. GME has been in nothing more than a reaccumulation, ready to get ready for a higher move. And anybody who's been pretty diligent on this thing has been able to watch it and see it. But at the end of the setup, I mean, this thing is looking like it's ready to get out of here. Above 25, I have a couple different levels to watch. I'll go and post the levels. Hopefully you can make sure to go and add those to your charts to see about how they play out. But we have hit all levels that I was looking to actually touch. I call them money lines if you're following us on the live streams that we do every day. The money lines are the main locations that we have that are going to be pretty crucial to GME seeing its next levels and then starting to push higher. Our next money line is going to be up here about 27.56. Now we do have some major resistances that I do want to point out before we actually get to 27.56, but once we start to clear those levels, it should clear up pretty quickly. I don't really have much issues beforehand that'll stop us really from breaking out of this thing and continuing to rise up. All right, so this is looking fantastic overall. Here are the main levels I'm looking at based upon fibs. 25.25 was actually one area that we actually hit on Friday that caused a little bit of a rejection and put us back slightly above the wedge. We'll look at it in closer detail to see exactly what it's looking like on the 4-hour here. And you can see that 25.25 area has been pretty sticky. We did not break through it. However, we are in a fantastic spot to be broken above this top side of this wedge. High possibility we can come back here and probably come back to try to retest the top side of the wedge somewhere around $23.80, $24 flat before trying to continue on, gathering enough strength in this situation to probably come back out, retest 25.25, break it, and start making our way toward the next money line we mentioned a minute ago, which is roughly around 27.56. That's the actual number, very solid number. I'd looking to get in the way of us actually doing that right away, 27.06. And a couple different major resistances that we have to deal with in doing so are going to be a few major EMAs or SMAs that are going to wind up being a little bit sticky, which are very high time frames. The 2-day 400 moving average, the 5-day 200 moving average, the 50 moving average on the monthly, which is going to be a major hit. Won't really knock anything out of the trajectory. However, it's going to be, you won't just shoot right through that. You can't expect to just blast through. You will most likely come down, have a rejection, probably try to reaccumulate and push through toward that $29 level, which is going to be the major one. All right, $29 in this case should pretty much flip everything. Once you have $30, everything flips on this stock. I mean, you start really, ramping upward kind of nicely. So it is something to watch, but these are the levels I'll be watching here. Definitely make note of these in the next couple of days going into the new week and a couple of weeks after that. As far as a potential squeeze up to 1,000 right now, I wouldn't say that we're looking for that to happen right away. I'd give it a little bit of time. Again, we'll go more in detail on that on the time frames that I have to actually see things in a few minutes here. But ultimately, we're watching these particular levels. You have, again, 25.84, major one. 25.25 is a major one. 25.84. You have 27.06. Your money line at 27.56, which is a real one I'm really caring about here. After that, we're talking 29.39, and then from there, yeah, you start going. 37.75 would be the major location I'd look for. Some couple different things to happen around those areas. But once you're in the $30 range, I mean, there's really no coming back. You won't see the 20s probably for a very long time, if ever again. All right, so keep a lookout on this as we go into the next portion here. All right, so we got it pulled up here once again. This is going to be the weekly time frame. So now, again, we have a little bit of a lay of the land. We have an idea of what's going on with the actual playing field here. What I went ahead and did here is turn on the trend lines here for the trajectory I'm looking for GME. Obviously, we do have this idea of this wedge, but based on several supports, I'm going to return those back on. These are the light blue lines that we have posted here from the all-time lows, which are showing the new runway or new trajectory plan here for this thing once it starts to break out. Again, I don't expect a straight shot up. I expect it to be a gradual climb, probably over the next month to 2 months, most likely leading into probably a new year as things get higher and higher into the numbers that we all want to see. A couple targets I have listed. I'm going to put those in here for you in just a moment. However, again, these blue lines are showing you the trajectory we have going on. Let's go a little closer here so we can see what the daily looks like. And those are going to you see how they'll match up here with our major resistances levels. All right, we talked about those a moment ago. We'll compare those to a couple fibs in just a minute. Your money line situation here, probably what everybody wants to see is this from an Elliott wave perspective, which we have a couple different paths that I actually have charted out here going forward. All right, all of them seem to line up very well time frame wise and also level wise, so where we can see our top targets over the next couple of days. All right, don't get too excited. All right, I still have trajectories which I've been talking about for several weeks, several months, if you caught the last couple videos, as well as ever since this run up back in May, also as well as the live streams we do every single day. If you're not on those, definitely join us. For those who'd love to have you in and go over a couple different scenarios. But overall, the trajectory is going to be continuing on. Nothing has really changed in GME's case. It's just the day of the week. Everything is looking really nice for upside continuation. The new trend line and new trajectory is based upon these blue lines. As you break out of this downtrend we just discussed a moment ago, once you get over about that $25.25 level, you should be off to the races and following this trajectory. Now, we do have three paths to be concerned with in this case. All right, a few different Elliott wave targets that we have set up. If this thing goes, which I would like to see the gold path. All right, this is the gold path I have here. Wave 1 would have been the start back in May. Wave 2 would have ended at the end of our time window. All right, I'll go and show you my time window, which has basically been playing out the entire time throughout this whole path, this whole setup here, and what it's been looking like. We had that breakout on October 28th, which was marked here before it even happened, and also was screaming about this on Twitter. That was going to be the day we'd start the breakout. It happened, and now we're making that way up. In this situation, I did want to make sure we point out a particular cross and creek. If you guys know some of my strategy stuff I talk about on X, as well as what we talk about on the live streams and a lot of videos I do. My strategy is based upon the platinum cross up, and I'm going to remove this for a quick second here. Get rid of the lines, which is the lines in the drawings for just a moment, just so you can see how this is played out. Platinum cross up shows a cross up during the squeeze back here in May. And if you go back a little bit further, you have the platinum cross up that took place back in September 2020. That's the only time you had a full-fledged platinum cross up without any resistances, which you can see that there was a lot of fake outs in this area, a lot of noise in this range, trying to distract you from what was actually happening on the stock. This is the second time, and this is now a full and completed retest of this platinum cross up situation. You can see how it's held up as support the entire time on the daily, and now it's finally breaking the downtrend that was created, and now ready to push up even higher. Fantastic setup. It is a great indication of how I expect things to look. The only other time we've actually held above this creek line on the daily chart, as far as holding up or using it as support, it was in a positive way, was back here. Right, this is back in 2012. Yeah, that's the only other time. Other than that, this has been a downtrend and a spike. Every time you get back above that line cleanly, you run up pretty significantly. I mean, if you look at this from a measurement standpoint, back here, the stock was about 366. As it ran up, it was 182% move at a minimum back then over a period of time, over about a year's period. Not saying it's going to take that long for the GME this time around. It's a lot different of a monster than it was back in 2020. Obviously, we don't need to go back in here and see how things played out. This setup here was the squeeze move, obviously 6,000%. No need to discuss that. And then you go into the setup here. This was obviously a very big one here. Once the cross happened, it's about 254% off that particular move. I expect as a full retest, I'm expecting minimum, again, seeing all-time highs over the next little bit. But again, I'll go and add my lines here so we get an idea for a trajectory and time frame, which I believe everyone's probably concerned with at this particular point, whether or not they're looking for contracts, whether or not they're looking for opportunities that they can take or positioning themselves. Not financial advice by any means. However, do your research and hopefully you can find reason to see that this is looking like it's ready to make some real moves over the next little bit. All right. October 28th was the breakout date to start the confirmation, in my opinion, the wave 3 target, that wave 3 setup of this Elliott wave pattern off of the move that we had back in May. Break the downtrend of that orange line we showed a minute ago, which was the downtrend that is from the all-time highs, and we start to move in and start making our way towards the next money line, which is roughly around $27.59. All right, we talked about that a few minutes ago. 56 cents, excuse me. We have three opportunities, or three paths that could potentially take place here on the stock. All right, I'm looking for, obviously we all probably want to see this gold path being the one to go. However, we need to be certain of a couple different situations that could take place. If we get snubbed for whatever reasons, I'd be looking to most likely probably top out at this particular this purple path, which puts us at a max of about $47, which wouldn't be bad, so to speak. I expect to move up to about $30, come back here down towards about 25, 26 bucks before continuing on the wave 3 setup here, which will bring us to about $38, back to 31, and then topping out at roughly about 47 bucks before ending and starting a corrective phase back down. Purple path. All right, we talk about the blue path, which is going to be the medium term path, where we basically have a move up that we already have begun on this move, wave 1. We have a 2, a 3, up to about $80, being rejected back down towards 47, and then finally ending off at the current all-time high as a double top. The earliest date I would have in a situation like that, if we follow wave 5, would be the June 2025. Don't expect that to be the case. I do expect the gold path. I'm hoping, and it looks like we should get the gold path. All right, now it can happen sooner. These are not going to be set in stone, but based upon the trajectory, looking at the charts and using it for what it is, these are what I'm expecting. If we are indeed in the gold path, I'm looking for a push out of this area, a break, pretty much a run in this situation that will probably take us up towards all-time highs. A little stumbling blocks, like I mentioned earlier. You're not going to just run right through this thing. It's going to be some stumbling, bumbling, some squeeze-looking moves, a lot of volume coming in. Obviously, the market's going to support a move to this degree. It seems like, based on everything being so bullish. We have a couple more dials till the SPY top, in my opinion, start to top out roughly around that 620-ish area. But in this case, we have a little bit of a run in our hands here towards roughly about the all-time highs. Probably by at the no later than roughly about the February 25th date. So roughly about 2 months, you may get a move back down to retest a couple areas within the same setup as we have on the blue and purple path. You will get a retracement of some sort, probably back down toward about 25, 26 bucks, and then the move will continue. If you go ahead, you'll probably hit again at the end of this setup, no later than roughly about 2025 February. All right, for this to happen, in my opinion, this is going to be the top of the third wave. You will get a retracement. That's common. All right, in a 5-wave move back probably towards the all-time high. That, well, not the all-time high, but the high that was hit back in May, which is roughly around 80 bucks, which coincides with this midline of, again, this larger wedge we've been dealing with. All right, you hit the midline coinciding with that, and then push up one more time toward the top target that I have, which should align probably again by June 2025. It's going to be roughly around $214 with a maximum of about $250, somewhere in that range, within the confines of this wedge. Doesn't have to respect it. It can go wild. If it does, then look out. We're probably going to the moon. However, within the confines of the technical analysis and the patterns that we're drawing out here, that would be the area that I'd expect it to hit at some point in time. In probably June 2025 would be the earliest date I'd expect that. If it goes a little bit longer, all right, you can expect it. I'm expecting it to possibly hit in this range probably no later than roughly about September 2025 at the latest. Doesn't have to reach up there. Doesn't have to actually go up there, depending on what's going on with the market at the time. I can't see the future, but using the chart overall, this is what looks like is going to happen pretty much regardless of anything we're seeing out here in general. All right, so overall, those are the top targets. Those are the areas of biggest resistance. Those are what I'm looking for time wise on this particular chart. But ultimately, the answer is up. We're heading upwards, and they're probably going to be pretty violent. Some opportunities right now. You're probably not going to see opportunities like this for a little while. So do position yourself accordingly, but also protect yourself in case of anything. All right, but ultimately, you're talking about from here to there to the third wave move, roughly about a 380% move. Could happen sooner. I expect it again no later than here. For the all-time high test, which is again roughly about the end of January, middle of February, excuse me. And then from there, we're talking about a few more months to get one more push up toward the all-time high, the new all-time high that I expect on the top target, roughly about 920% at that point. All right, so this would be fantastic, a huge move if we can catch this and it plays out based upon what this is looking like. So position yourselves, do what you got to do. I know what I'm going to do. Hopefully, you decide what you want to do on this thing, but not financial advice. But the opportunity, in my opinion, is here on this freaking stock. So let's make the best of it, guys. All right, just taking a look here at the fibs. Just a backtrack. Again, this is more in detail on the last video that was roughly about 40-something minutes long. If you want to go through that, just a quick test here, just showing up how the fibs have played out pretty beautifully on this stock. Overall, from the all-time lows to the all-time highs, the 382 is pretty much served as an area for biggest support resistance. 236, 37 bucks. This is why I'm mentioning $37 being the area we're most likely going to hit going forward, which is going to cause a little bit of a pullback and then again that'll be the launch pad for the push up. So 37.66 to 236 off the lows to the highs, and then from there we'll probably start to see the movement that we want to see. But 37 is going to be pivotal in the move up, 47 as well. But that's the first set. If we do a trend-based extension, which I already have taken in account here for us, from the high to the low to the low to the high to the low, the trend-based fib extension shows us, based on the trend here, that our highest point would be the golden pocket, somewhere in this range, roughly again about 253. Makes perfect sense. As we mentioned a little while ago, I'm looking between 215 to about 250, somewhere around there. 214 is my exact target. However, we can most likely get a sweep above those areas and probably try to test into the golden pocket on the daily chart. Now, can it go higher than that? Very possible. We've seen GME go crazy before. It can do it again. So we'll see how things play out. But again, based upon chart positioning, adding all those lines and supports and resistances that we mentioned a little while ago, we have to be cognizant of it potentially getting stopped out somewhere in this range here on this top trend line, this red line here, before potentially coming back down. So doesn't always have to hit these levels, but something to pay attention to. All right, as far as your 2021 setup, your squeeze setup on 2021, if you take out the trend-based fib, you have your golden pocket right now sitting roughly around the $47 mark. As again, we mentioned, the $47 mark would be the area it would most likely hit. If we go ahead back here and add in our Elliott waves, you'll see how 47 lines up quite well with the blue path, the purple path here. All right, the purple path tops out at the golden pocket, roughly around 47. If we take the purple path and get rejected again at the golden pocket on the daily, similar to why we got rejected here back on the May run, as well as what happened here on the second pump that we had at the bottom of the golden pocket, which was the 0.618 at $48. So that's again some area we're going to most likely pay attention to. We need to pay attention to in this run. So just protect yourself, be paying attention to these particular areas, because if you're looking to take profit or trim a little bit, you have to be at least in the know about where these things are, just so you can protect yourself and make the best of the move that's about to come up, or in my opinion. All right, so do pay attention, and hopefully you can find reason to line yourself up with some of these areas that we just mentioned a minute ago. All right, so again, the golden pocket roughly between this $47 to $48 mark. If we can blast through, being that we did test it already, if we start to blast through, I'm looking again to get that top of wave 3, start heading above the all-time high, starting to touch the all-time high, retrace, and then we start going toward the extension area that we talked about, which is again going to land us here somewhere in that 215 range, roughly to about here. 215 range, 214.08 is my target. Also lining up with the 618 on this trend-based extension, roughly 253. And going to add my levels here back, which is this little pink box we have marked off. And this will show you again how this all lines up based on where I think this thing is heading, based upon all of the different things we talked about. The trends, your momentum trading setups, your Elliott waves, all of this stuff plays in. And I believe GME is looking fantastic for a move that we haven't seen since 2021, guys. So again, all lines up within a time frame. Again, you look to probably have some of this move happen probably by the 25th of February. And then from there, retrace, and then the all-time high, new all-time high target, this pink shaded region, lines up within this range between June 2025 and the latest September 2025, if this takes longer to actually happen. But GME gets wild, so it's probably going to happen sooner. So position yourself accordingly, guys. Great opportunity to make some real gains. Shout out to anybody who's been playing this thing, watching this thing for the longest period of time, putting the work in to really know what this thing, what's happening, and doing the work to at least help out a couple of the folks that may not be seeing what they see. The community's stronger because of you, folks like you, so do appreciate and applaud anybody who's actually watching this stuff, putting it out to everybody so they can have the opportunity as well. But hopefully it's preparing everyone for what could potentially happen. And yeah, this is why I do what I do, guys. So again, keep a lookout on this stuff. If you like more videos like this, do hit the like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'd like to continue seeing you guys here going forward. We do live streams every single day between roughly about 10:30ish to about 12 per day, every single trading day. Also, link to the Discord as well as the strategy is within the description. Take a look at those. Hopefully you guys can take a look at those and see if you can apply them to your own trading styles. Okay. Other than that, appreciate all you. Join us here on the way up. Going to be here each and every day, growing our portfolios together, making the outcome income. All right. Take it easy. See you on the next one. Peace.